Exactly how much progress are you guys making? Exactly that is the question. In light of the fact that you have returned to the channel, we would like to use this opportunity to express our gratitude to you. In this discussion, we are going to talk about a situation that occurred in the tranquil town of Leighton, which is located in the state of New South Wales in Australia. As part of the episode that we are going to speak about today, this particular example will be explored within the context of the episode. The story has the potential to shake the community to its very core, and as a consequence, it has managed to leave an indelible mark on the lives of those individuals who were a part of the event. There was a young woman named Stephanie Scott whose life was cut short in the most terrible way that one could ever imagine of. This tragic event took her life. Throughout the entirety of this video, from the very beginning to the very conclusion, we are going to discuss the sad events that took place in relation to Stephanie Scott. Ever since she was a young girl, Stephanie has been a shining example of kindness, brightness, and unending delight. This is despite the fact that she was only 26 years old at the time. Despite the fact that she was just 26 years old at the time, she managed to do this. She has been a stunning example of each and every one of these principles throughout her whole life. It was after she had reached the realization that she wanted to devote her life to teaching that she was able to secure a teaching position at Leighton High School, where she was in charge of teaching both English and drama. When she made the decision to pursue a career in education, she did so because she wanted to follow in the footsteps of her father, Robert, who was also a public school educator. When we learn about the unfortunate circumstances that led to her untimely death, the story of her takes a dark turn and becomes even more unsettling. This occurs as soon as we receive this information. Due to the fact that the story takes a dark turn, this is the result. I would like to extend an invitation to you to join me in this contemplation as we think about the life of Stephanie Scott, including her extensive past, the love she shared with her fiancé Aaron, and the joyful anticipation of their upcoming wedding, which will be irreparably ruined by a terrible catastrophe. I would like to invite you to join me in this contemplation. This is a reflection that I would like to encourage you to participate in with me. Let's move on to the next topic, which is the troubling circumstances that surround the disappearance of Stephanie Scott, now that we've been able to get it out of the way once and for all. Shockwaves would move through the tranquil hamlet of Leighton as a result of a series of events that would lead them to take place. These circumstances would cause the shockwaves to take place. In order to get ready for her wedding, which was set to take place on April 11th, 2015, Stephanie, who is well known for her ability to meticulously organize each and every detail, was expending a tremendous deal of work. According to the initial schedule, a wedding was planned to take place in the month of January in the next year. This was the timetable that was initially established. The fact that she had just recently finished having a fantastic time at her bachelorette party was one of the factors that contributed to the fact that her life was full of excitement. Another thing that contributed to the fact that her life was full of excitement was the fact that almost all of the preparations for her wedding were already in place. On Easter Sunday, which started on April 5th, 2014, and continued until Easter Sunday, the atmosphere became increasingly depressing. This was the beginning of the Easter Sunday season. Throughout the entirety of the time period, this was the situation. The beginning of the Easter season has arrived now that we have arrived at this point in time. Stephanie went to her school in Leighton in order to finish the pieces of work that she had been working on after she had finished part of the work that she had been working on. She expressed that she was absolutely exhausted and exhausted. In contrary to what appears to be the case, this mission would turn out to be the beginning of a story that would turn out to be disastrous. It may appear that this is not the case, but this is not the case. Aaron, who was engaged to Stephanie, started to suffer increased amounts of anxiousness as the evening got closer. Stephanie was the one who proposed to Aaron. The reason for this was that Stephanie had not yet arrived at her residence, which meant that she had not yet completed her journey all the way to her destination. At this point, there was still no evidence to suggest that Stephanie was present at the apartment. Because Stephanie had been so ready to tell the particulars of the wedding, Aaron appeared to feel even more anxious as a result of Stephanie's sudden quiet, which was out of character for her given that she had been so eager to reveal the information. Since Stephanie had been so eager to reveal the information, Aaron looked to feel even more anxious. During the time when Stephanie was considering whether or not she should reveal information about the wedding, her enthusiasm was evident. When it had been more than a day since she had vanished, he went to the Leighton police station and filed a missing person report for her. He requested that she be found safe and sound. As a person who had vanished without a trace, he recognized her as well. The occurrence of this event occurred as a direct result of the circumstance, which was that he was unable to keep up communication with her. This was the beginning of a concern that was collectively held by each and every individual who was a member of the community on a personal level. On Easter Sunday, the police began the laborious process of searching for Stephanie, despite the fact that they had extremely little information due to the fact that it was Easter Sunday, and also because there were very few witnesses. This was the case despite the fact that they had very little information. Despite the fact that they had relatively little opportunities to obtain information, they were nonetheless able to do this. In spite of the fact that they did not have access to an adequate amount of information, they went ahead and carried out the action. During the time that ground police were focusing their efforts on Leighton High School, which was the last known location of the suspect, helicopters were scanning the surrounding region. The culprit was last seen at the school. At the same time, both aircraft and ground police were searching for the person responsible for the crime. During the course of the investigation, it was discovered that Stephanie had completed the last tasks that she had been assigned to complete in her classroom. These tasks had been assigned to her. One of these jobs was to switch off the alarm system at 1:30 p.m., which was another one of the tasks that needed to be completed daily. Subsequently, at 1:38 p.m., it was turned back on after being turned off. Through the 7th of April, local news shows had began broadcasting the story, which exacerbated the sense of urgency that had been present within the community during the entirety of the period. This was in spite of the fact that optimism continued to diminish with each passing day. As each day went by, the likelihood of a positive outcome occurring decreased, and this pattern continued to be observed. Deconstructing the horrible chapter that involves Marcus Stanford in the Stephanie Scott case is something that we ought to do as we move forward with the inquiry. This is something that we should do. In the process of carrying out this activity, we will shed light on the aftermath of the occurrence as well as the various judicial actions that followed. An already terrifying narrative was made even more complicated by the fact that officials from the police department found Stephanie's belongings inside Marcus Stanford's apartment. This added an additional degree of complication to the situation. Due to the fact that this additional degree of complexity was disclosed, the study became more challenging than it would have been under any other set of circumstances. Concern was raised regarding the extent to which Marcus was participating in the illegal behavior. This was a cause of concern that was considered. Concerns like these were a direct result of the relationship that existed between Marcus and the unlawful activities that were taking place at the time. Marcus admitted, after further interrogation and investigation, that he was involved in the terrible events that followed Stephanie Scott's death at the hands of the police. This revelation came about as a result of the investigation. It was after Marcus had been subjected to additional interrogation and inquiry that he provided this admission. Vincent Stanford, the twin brother of the primary suspect, was sentenced to 15 months in jail for his role in the crime. At that time, the legal repercussions began to become evident for him. He was given a sentence for his role in the crime. taking into consideration the acts he took during the conduct of the crime, he was given the sentence. When it was revealed that Marcus had any participation in the accident, it was a devastating discovery, and as a result of this revelation, the community was rattled to its very core. Many people had a difficult time embracing the idea that a person who was close to the major suspect could have been engaged in doing such a horrific deed. This made it difficult for them to comprehend the possibility. In spite of their best efforts, these folks were unable to accept this concept. When they were performing their investigation into the many choices that were accessible to them, this was something that they were obligated to take into consideration. In response to the case, members of the community exhibited a wide range of feelings, including anger, grief, and incredulity, among other emotions. The impact that the tragedy had on the entire town was added to by these responses, which contributed to the additional enhancement of the impact that the tragedy had on the entire town. In the aftermath of the end of an investigation into the death of Stephanie Scott, Vincent Stanford was brought before a judge and charged with the murder of Stephanie Scott. It was during the time that he was confessing to the crime that the courtroom turned into a stage for the revealing of information that was quite distressing. This was something that occurred throughout the course of the conversation as he made the admission. It was ultimately agreed that he would be sentenced to life in prison for the crime of murder and 15 years for the accusation of sexual assault. This decision was reached after a great deal of consultation and debate. The reasons for this were due to the fact that the circumstances surrounding the sexual assault were considered to be of a serious character. Marcus was put through the process of being tried, which finally resulted in him being sentenced to 15 months in prison at the completion of the procedures regarding the case. The decision was made to take this action in order to ensure that he would be able to face the legal repercussions that would be a direct result of his participation in the activity. For this reason, it was determined to take this action. There were arguments over the level of responsibility that he held and the appropriateness of the punishment that he was given. The purpose of the judicial system was to make him accountable for his involvement, which ended up causing disagreements. Starting from the beginning of the legal processes and continuing until the completion, Stephanie's family was subjected to an influence that was not only significant but also long-lasting. This impact began with the beginning of the proceedings. The opening of the proceedings marked the beginning of this influence, which maintained its presence until the end of the proceedings. When it was learned that Marcus had been involved in the incident, the already agonizing loss was coupled by an additional level of grief from the fact that he had been involved in the occurrence. Marcus had been participating in the action because he was a participant in the occurrence. The emotional toll that the trials took on the family was unexplainable, despite the fact that they brought about a certain degree of closure in the situation. Despite this, the proceedings finally led to a resolution being reached with the parties involved. In the event that we have completed our investigation into the Stephanie Scott case, we will then proceed to discuss the consequences that resulted from the additional events that took place afterwards. During this time, we will pause for a minute to contemplate not only the dogged determination of her family, but also the profound and enduring influence that the case has had on the community. In the course of this time period, both of these characteristics will be acknowledged and valued. In the following section of this piece, we are going to discuss the significant consequences that have been brought about as a direct result of the Stephanie Scott case. As we move forward with this section of the essay, we are going to shed some light on the influence that the case had on her family, the community, and the sad events that followed. Because of the unfortunate circumstances that surrounded Stephanie Scott's exit from this world, those who were close to her have been left with a gap in their lives that can never be filled. The huge amount of suffering that they were experiencing as a result of the void that Stephanie's departure produced became a daily struggle for them to come to terms with. This was a battle that they experienced on a daily basis. Stephanie's leaving was the cause of that hole in the family. The void was caused by Stephanie's departure, which was the origin of the void. The void was brought about as a consequence of Stephanie's departure. While her family was going through the process of coming to terms with the awful truth of Stephanie's untimely death, they were forced to address the challenging issue of reconstructing their lives without Stephanie's contagious joy and warmth. This was a trying time for them. It was necessary for them to find a solution to this problem. Having to deal with this difficult topic was a challenge in and of itself. An atmosphere of collective melancholy and contemplation was exhibited by the community as a result of the tragedy, which had a tremendous influence on the town of Leighton. On account of the catastrophe, this was a response. Every single one of these events occurred simultaneously. In reaction to the unfortunate events that have occurred on a consistent basis, there have been requests made for a more stringent screening and evaluation of the staff that works in schools. This is a response to the fact that the incidents have occurred. These requests are being made with the purpose of minimizing the risks that children are put in danger of and preventing circumstances of a similar nature from occurring in the process of the future. It is being noted that these ideas are being addressed as a part of a larger discourse that is already taking place, and they are being included in the discussion that is currently taking place discussing the safety measures that ought to be implemented in educational institutions. Sadly, Robert, Stephanie's father, lost away as a result of a single incident that involved a tree that had fallen during the course of the event. He passed away as a consequence of the circumstances that he was in. During the time when the event in question took place, it had been a little more than a year since Stephanie and her father had moved out of their first apartment. The horrible pain that he went through as a result of this bad turn of events has brought him to the point where he is completely saddened. He has reached this position because of the unfortunate turn of circumstances. It was at a time when the family was already having to deal with the ramifications of a previous catastrophe that they were hit with an extra loss that was imposed upon them, which made the situation even more difficult than it already was. The issue became considerably more challenging as a result of this addition. Furthermore, the terrible event that had befallen the Scott family was further solidified by the fact that Robert was laid to rest in close proximity to the same location where Stephanie had been laid to rest. This was a further confirmation of the terrible event that had befallen the Scott family, a further indication of the horrible catastrophe that had befallen the Scott family was provided by this latest development. It had been decided that Steph would be laid to rest in the same location where she had been laid to rest in the past. Regardless of the enormous amount of difficulty that Stephanie Scott had to go through throughout her life, the legacy that she left behind continues to remain. She made a name for herself as a source of inspiration for everyone in her near vicinity as a result of her enthusiasm for gaining new information, providing assistance to other individuals, and serving as a guide to other individuals. The community, which had been permanently changed as a result of the tragedy, made an effort to pay tribute to Stephanie's memory by recognizing the qualities that she possessed that were one of a kind and the good influence that she had on the lives of a great number of people. This was done in an effort to honor Stephanie's memory. An effort was made to achieve this in order to pay tribute to Stephanie's memories. The journey that the Scott family has been on, which has been marked by the stages of pain and loss, is one that demands them to be tough and strong in order for them to make it through the journey. As a representation of the unbreakable bond that they shared with Stephanie in terms of their relationship, the incredible suffering that they went through served as a demonstration of the unbreakable tie that they shared. The unbreakable bond that they shared with one another was symbolized by this connection, which functioned as a reflection of that bond. The community came together to demonstrate their love and support with the family throughout the most difficult conditions that they were going through at the time. They did not make any attempt to conceal the fact that they were experiencing sadness. Rather, they banded together in order to offer support to those who were going through difficult times, for the purpose of serving as a powerful reminder to treat ourselves with kindness and to make an effort to be a force that is constructive in the world while we are contemplating it, let us utilize the scenario that concerns Stephanie Scott as a powerful reminder. We should make it a point to allow it to act as a timely reminder. Those who were closest to Stephanie believed that everyone should make it their goal to cultivate the qualities that she exemplified, which include compassion, kindness, and a genuine desire to leave a positive influence on the lives of other people. Stephanie exemplified these characteristics. Individuals who were Stephanie's closest friends and family members are the ones who are carrying out this deed in her appreciation. This activity is being carried out in Stephanie's honor and will continue to be carried out. Greetings, fellow viewers, and thank you for watching. I would want to express my gratitude to you for your involvement in this tale, as well as your inquiry into the specifics of Stephanie Scott's life, her untimely death, and the aftermath that took place in Leighton, New South Wales, after she died away. I would like to thank you for your efforts. Thank you very much for all of these items. I am very grateful to you. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for each and every one of these considerations. You demonstrate empathy and compassion in a number of different ways, one of which is by paying attention to the human stories that lie behind these situations. You are paying close attention to comprehending these recountings. These recountings are being comprehended by you with great concentration and attention to detail. I would like to take the opportunity to convey my gratitude to you for the efforts that you have made in regard to this situation. I would like to extend an invitation to subscribe to the channel if you found this content to be both educational and intriguing. I hope you will accept our invitation. My sincere wish is that you will accept our invitation. If you are able to accept our invitation, it would be a great honor for me. In the event that you are able to comply with our invitation, it would be an incredible privilege for me. In the event that you choose to go in this manner, you will be able to keep up with the most recent videos that cover a wide variety of subjects, which will enable you to maintain your relevance in the modern world. These films will cover a wide range of subjects, from true-life depictions of criminal activities to in-depth explorations of historical events and concerns about contemporary situations. The topics that will be explored in these films will be fairly diverse. As a result of the consistent support that you offer, we are in a position to bring these tales to light and to initiate conversations that are of tremendous importance. I am grateful to you. I would want to express my appreciation for your intervention. Let us continue to build empathy, awareness, and a collective will to bring about changes that are constructive as we make our way through the numerous components that make up the human experience. This will allow us to make progress in our trip. I would like to take this chance to convey my gratitude to you once more for being a member of this community, and I am looking forward to continuing our journey together by making use of this occasion. I would like to take advantage of this opportunity. Thank you for watching. I recommend our other crime videos.